It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Gotta tell you, my favorite Twitter picture of the day is Sam Alito and his wife. I guess his wife's name's Martha Ann. Good for Martha Ann. But evidently Sam and Martha Ann with Leonard Leo in Versailles in France. I can't even say that right. But there they are, bright smiley faces, and why not? Because of the Leonard Leo types of the world, we've got Alito on the court, we've got Gorsuch, we've got Kavanaugh, we've got the Coney Barrett woman, we've got crazy, and there they are smiling because it's bought and paid for. But hey, the only reason Sam went, seat was empty. Nobody else was gonna go. I was doing him a favor. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on the craziness. And look, if you were surprised, as I said at the beginning, if you were shocked by today's rulings, you ain't been paying attention, or you ain't been listening to my next guest, who is the afternoon guy at KTNF AM 950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Matt McNeil, thanks for taking time for us, buddy.
Hey, Rick, how are you doing, my friend?
I am good. I want to start with this idea that, I was listening to some right-wing bloviators going on about the left is losing their minds and the left is... I guess I didn't see people on the left really losing their minds. We all knew it was coming.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can only imagine the lavish, top-notch vacations that some Supreme Court justices are about to take, because they have delivered. Oh, and how is it that easy? Hey, I'll get you to where we'll get the line cutter at Disney World, and just all you have to do make sure college is free for low-income individuals. If that's all we have to do, I'll take Gorsuch to Disney World in a heartbeat, man. We'll go have a blast and save a lot of people money. I don't think. I mean, you and I, we see this every day, and we're talking to a lot of people. I sat up all night, election night 2016, because I kept saying to myself, what have you done?
Yep.
What have you done? Because it wasn't just this will be a little bit different. I knew exactly what was coming down the line, and there was not much you could do about it. And this is the end result. I mean, when you're talking the Supreme Court, the inertia effect of it is not within the first few years. It's for a decade or two down the road. That is why you can no longer take any elections off. I know there are people out there who are like, well, Matt, I don't want to hear about how, the people that didn't vote for Hillary in 2016. It's what it is. And if we didn't learn our lesson, we should know it now, that if you have any doubt, I don't care who it is, you vote Democrat, end of story, end of discussion, because it's insanity on the other side, and they're enjoying their spoils right now with that corrupted Supreme Court.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me, Matt, and this is the part that I'm still struggling with. I had a bunch of people emailing me and saying, basically celebrating and showing me the palm to my face, and these are working class people. These are people just like you and me. And I'm going, I don't know why you're celebrating. You didn't win anything. None of these decisions are going to help you put food on the table, help you to keep a roof over your head, to get your kids through college. None of this. This doesn't help the working class at all, other than, for a couple of minutes, you got to kick somebody who was down. You got to say, hey, I agree with them because they hate the same people. But it's not going to make your life any better.
No, it's not. And that is the, if you want to look at the success of Republicans on one front, it's the ability to convince people to vote against their best intention, to get them to do it with aplomb, with glee, with joy. That, you're not going to give me health insurance. You're not going to give me good quality education for my kids. You're not going to build our roads or invest in the infrastructure. You're not going to help out the American farmer. You're against workers. I'll vote for you. And there is just an insanity that is existing out there, the brainwashing of this portion of America, about a third of the country, to where people can sit there and say, I'm going to shoot your dog, and they'll say, great, do it. I'll vote for you. And that's the crazy part of it. I mean, the insanity of individuals who basically can, I mean, take a look. Everything that's wrong let's go, it's rural America. Everything that's wrong in rural America is because of Republicans. They have screwed you over consistently. If you're a farmer, you're in rural America, there's no housing, there's no childcare, your schools are bad, there's no investment, your downtowns are empty. Why? Because of Republicans. And the Democrats, we're in Minnesota, you've heard about what we've been doing over here. We're throwing a ton of money out there into these rural areas, and still these people are like, oh yeah, that's going to help me, but I don't care because I'd rather die than vote Democrat. And I don't know how, I mean, right now I'm encouraging the Minnesota Democrats to get into every one of these small towns and put up billboards in every town saying every road, every school, every airport, every investment that we have made, you need to make sure these people know that didn't come from Republicans, that came from the Democrats.
No, I've been saying that from the beginning, Matt. I mean, you need giant 20-foot cardboard cutouts of Joe Biden going, I did that. In every rural community where we're investing in broadband, where the roads are getting better, all of that. You're spot on.
Well, and you brought up the broadband. I mean, what a monumental little thing that just happened last week. Where, I mean, and you and I have been out in rural America. You go some of these places, they still can't get a cell phone service. Kid has to do homework. They got to go drive 30 minutes to a Caribou Coffee or a Starbucks Coffee and go and do their homework there. The idea of going border to border broadband, I mean, that's FDR. We're going to bring electricity to rural America. That's what that is. In Minnesota, we're going to get $641 million to go border to border with broadband in Minnesota. That is going to dramatically help people. And the Democrats they can't just sit there. They like to sit there and say, we don't have to brag. No, brag, because Republicans are already taking credit for this.
Yeah.
And they didn't do this. So you need to get out there and brag, because if you don't go tell people that you're doing it, the Republicans will insist, well, we did it, even though they voted against it.
No, and I keep saying, imagine, just come with me in this Wayback Machine. Imagine if Donald Trump had a quarter of the accomplishments that the Biden administration has had so far. Just imagine if they actually did, anything. Imagine the kind of hero worship. Imagine the kind of credit Trump would want. He would break both arms trying to pat himself on the back and tweet with his toes about how wonderful he is.
Well, the Republicans are amazing when it comes to Trump because, he didn't do a damn thing. But they still, have you noticed the trend of Republicans where what they'll do is they know they have got a cesspool of a guy that they love. They love him because he enables them. He allows their worst instincts to bubble over and be part of their psyche. It's who they are. They love him for that, and they will follow him into the pits of hell because of that. That is who they are. So to convince themselves that they're really on the right side, they will convince themselves that the other side are demon vampire zombies who are going to eat my brains. Well, hey, Donald Trump's not the best guy, but he's not a demon vampire zombie. And, it's like that's when you got to get to that level of, my God, not even UPN would put that show on the air. It really is kind of remarkable. But that's who these people are. They're so desperate for. A lot of his followers, I'll just say it, I think are 20-time losers. People that can get out of their own way, who are upset with their life and they're mad about things, and they keep voting for people that make their lives worse. But as opposed to fix their lives, it's easier for them to just blame other people. And Donald Trump was the guy that came out and told them, you can do that. Yeah. And you can be racist and you can be a bigot and you can do that. And they loved him because all of a sudden they were no longer the 20-time loser. They were the hero of their own story. And that is a very difficult thing to shake people out of. But the reality is you got to, because this country will devolve into something we have never seen before if he ever gets close to the White House again.
And the thing that I have is it's not even just him. It's this thinking. It's what's been set up. I mean, our Supreme Court is completely off the rails. There is no such thing as decided law anymore. There is nothing that they aren't willing to overturn or create out of whole cloth. And I look at the website situation. Evidently, I know gay people can't have cake or websites now, but evidently nobody actually asked for the website. Actually, there's no victim here. There's no harm here. They just decided to take this because, well, some gay person might ask for a website.
Exactly. It's a completely fabricated case that it's remarkable. How about the other case today? I mean, they're half their ruling in the denying of the relief for student loan debt was, we just don't want to. that was half their ruling was, we just don't want to do it. And we should note here, as people sit there and say, well, Roberts is not that bad, or sometimes Kavanaugh and Gorsuch seems to come around on Native American issues and stuff like that. That was 6-3 yesterday, 6-3, 6-3 again today, and now they're thinking about taking on whether or not people who are domestic violent people who are abusing their wives, their spouses, their girlfriends, whether or not they should be able to have guns. They have a right to have a gun even though they are a domestic abuser. Yeah. I mean, that is it. This is the inertia, folks. This is what happens when you say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to vote this election because I've convinced myself of an impossibility, that Hillary Clinton was somehow going to be worse than Donald Trump. And you bask in that. And I want to remind people that after that election in 2016, there was a lot of people that could not pat themselves on the back enough to say, see, we sent a message. Yeah, that message is you're idiots, because this is what we're getting today. And this is the beginning. I mean, these last few years, I mean, the ending of Roe v. Wade, the ending of affirmative action, for goodness sakes, the consequences that we're seeing here, it's going to take decades to undo all this damage. The one good side, I can tell you what, Generation Z wants nothing to do with Republicans. They have, I mean, if you're 30 and younger in this country, the Republican Party is persona non grata. They are not going to go for you. And I think this is kind of one of the reasons why they're kind of entertaining this overthrowing the democracy thing, is because they can see the cab coming down the street with its doors wide open, that they basically can't, they're not going to be able to win the younger generation. And the baby boomers are dying off tragically, and the greatest generation is almost gone. And that's been their loyal base. And that loyal base is disappearing in quickly, while this new base of very loyal Democratic voters, which are being encouraged by Republican actions, they are coming in, and they're going to make a difference, a big difference.
No, I'm right there with you. And again, as you said, the reality is, this is why they want to overturn democracy. This is why they're doing what they're doing. It is what it is. I quick want to take a phone call. Let's get CJ from Madison on line one. CJ, how you doing?
I am good. Thanks for taking my call, Rick.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead, real quick.
Well, my question is, do you believe...
I've decided I'm going to discriminate against you, because discrimination's legal. Evidently, this is the route we're going. Sorry. I got a problem. I got some discrimination going on here. Sorry, this is an inside thing. But this is a perfect place, because the website case again to me is interesting, because yesterday it was all about, hey, we've ended discrimination, and today discrimination's okay.
Well, I will say that. Oh, and that's CJ from Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, I've chatted with him. Tell him his mom says hi. Anyway, I'm that kind of guy. Here's what I'll say. The same Supreme Court said you can factor race completely into criminal profiling. Yep, race is 100% legit, and you can profile the living daylights out of people just because of their race. But you can't go down there and help people who are. And when you talk about affirmative action, I can't tell you the great lie Republicans tell themselves to make affirmative action irrelevant is that everyone has the same opportunity. And that is such a ludicrous, outrageous statement that the same people in the wealthiest of suburbs in any community, those kids have the same education, the same opportunities, the same health care, the same food, the same transportation, the same quality of life as kids in inner cities and poorer communities. It's not true. And I've been in the South where they have systematically gone out there and damaged the public education system purposely to basically hurt the minority population and prevent them from getting a quality education. And yet we still, every single year, get kids that go through these fixed systems and come on out with 4.0s, grade point averages, and they go to try to go to a college, but because daddy's got an alumni exemption, they can't get in. And so it's the affirmative action is needed because systemic racism is a problem. And just because you don't want it to be a problem doesn't mean it's not a problem. I'm so upset with Clarence Thomas. I mean, talk about a guy. I mean, it was like when Paul Ryan, so in Madison, Wisconsin, Paul Ryan, when he was a Speaker of the House, who was taking Social Security benefits when he was a kid because of his circumstance, and then saying he wants to cut them off for everyone else. Clarence Thomas would not have gotten his legal degrees if not for affirmative action. He was given an opportunity because people looked at the system and said, the system is not fair. We're going to make sure that you get the equal opportunity that other people can get. And he was able to get it. And now he's saying, I got mine, screw you. Yeah. That is just, it is so disappointing to see, but that's where we're at. This is ideology. And let's not mistake the opening point. These guys are bought and paid for, and somehow it's simply just give them a 5-star holiday vacation, fly them across the globe, get them the all you can eat pass. I mean, they basically they will sell out anything on the planet as long as they can do this, and that is the disturbing part.
Yeah, I see that now. I think this is a little different with the Supreme Court. You know, these trips. I don't think these trips mattered at all. I don't think there's a quid pro quo at all in this, because Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett, they don't get on the Supreme Court without having been vetted from high school forward. They're in the club. They've been wined and dined and indoctrinated for decades. One little trip to Versailles or one little trip to Alaska, that doesn't mean anything then. And that's what Alito was trying to say in his pre-buttal. You know, this isn't going to change my mind. You know, the seat was empty. I was doing them a favor kind of thing. It's who they are, and it's the reason that, you know, the infrastructure that creates these people are so dangerous that most Americans don't even know exists. The most powerful guy in this country, a guy named Leonard Leo, he's the guy who, during the Trump years, was picking out all of these horrible judges. You don't think Donald Trump was up nights doing research, do you?
Oh, no. I will say this. When it comes to Justice Scalia or Justice Thomas's little Nazi friend or Nazi fan, I mean, he's just a big fan of the Nazis. Now, I don't know what his actual personal beliefs are. One of those flights really put up a huge red flag for me. I don't know if you saw the list of flights that was exposed, but one, he left Washington, D.C. I think he flew to Pennsylvania for like 1 hour and then flew back to Washington, D.C. If that's not going there and taking marching orders, I don't know what it is. He still refuses to say what any of that was about. But one of those flights was not a vacation. It was a summoning. And he was summoned. A Supreme Court justice seemed to have been summoned to his Nazi-loving benefactor's appearance and then immediately flew back to Washington, D.C. How you can't start an investigation on that one flight alone, I don't know. But you're completely right, Rick, in that this is born and bred through college, through, you know, going to certain law firms, going to certain clerking, going to this, they're put through the system. But what's going on is making sure that we don't get another Sandra Day O'Connor, where you put her on the court. They thought she was a conservative voice and she ends up voting with the liberals on a lot more cases than they liked. Now it's basically like, okay, we'll let you go one or two this way or that way, but overall, we're going to make sure you understand these are the cases you are going to vote for.
No, and the important part of this is, you know, I've been talking about this for a while. The difference between the Trump kind of corruption and what Trump would do and the McConnell kind of corruption. You got the Trump stuff, which is stupid, which is, daring us to hold him accountable. But the McConnell stuff, much more methodical, much more backroom, much more dangerous. The stealing of a Supreme Court justice, that's a big part of this. But all of that backroom, hey, the moneyed interests are really in control. and we're going to make sure they stay in control. All of these rulings to me, especially the affirmative action thing, you're talking about, they want us to focus on white and black when the reality is it's really about green.
What Trump really did was give them the opportunity to put out whatever the far right zealots that are pulling the strings to go out there with their wish list and do whatever they wanted to do. McConnell, McCain, these guys, they were sure they're part of the system, but they weren't dumb enough to basically allow things to go down so far where it makes them unelectable. And don't get me wrong, we have enough gerrymandered districts, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that basically they could run a turnip with an R next to its name and it would still win. But when you look at what's going on now, Trump basically said the howler monkeys have taken over the zoo. And that's where you're at. You basically have people who are unintelligent, who are unorganized, who basically only seem to exist to fall and bask in the glory of the 50 or so Twitter trolls that follow them and think that they're great. And that's where this is going. And of course, then you have this behind the curtain machinations of these people who have, great white whales they've wanted to kill, and they're able to do so because there's no one driving the ship right now because Trump is over there eating a tub of paste.
Oh yeah, now I got an image in my head. That is going to stick with me. But I was thinking as you were talking, I was thinking about Dwight David Eisenhower. He wrote a letter to his brother Edgar and said, anyone who'd come out against Social Security or Medicare or unemployment or labor laws or the Farm Bill, they'd never be heard from in our political history. There are a few, Texas oil millionaires, Howard Hunt, but their numbers are negligible and they are stupid. And I look at that quote and I go, man, if you could dig up Ike right now and show him what's going on, he would agree. Stupid is running this country. The idiots have taken over, as you said. So I guess the question I want to finish up is, okay, we see all this. It's right in front of us. What do you do?
You vote every election. There is no election. I don't care if it's a local municipal election, your school board, your local House and Senate member or assembly member, whatever you have, your U.S. House members, your Senate members, your presidential races. Every stinking one of these counts. And if you ever sit these out, they're going to put a bunch of psychopaths in there that are going to basically drive that cab off the cliff. And so this has happened. The only way you can fix it is by voting. And if you don't vote, then God have mercy on us all.
No, I'm right there with you. But, you keep hearing this. We got to vote. And yet I keep having the same people saying, well, I don't like the candidate. And look, I fall into that sometimes too. I was not fond of Hillary. I voted for her because I knew what the alternative was. At some point, you got to know how bad the other side is going to be. And Republicans have shown us they want to burn the house down.
I'm not the biggest fan of our beef and cheddars too, but when the other option is an actual crap sandwich, I'll take the beef and cheddar. Not my first choice, but I'll eat that because I'd rather have that than the actual crap sandwich. Arby's.
I hope you get the residual out of that. But Matt, I appreciate the time. Excellent talk with you. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again real soon.
Anytime, Rick. You're always welcome on my show, too, and all my best, my friend.
Love talking with you. Matt McNeil, he is the afternoon guy at AM 950 KTNF in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Definitely tune in. A good guy. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. I'm going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Unions are making a comeback. More organizing in the last couple of years than in a long time. And the Biden administration being more supportive of unions than any president since FDR. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt. But I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
I took 2 years of electric in high school, and I was the only girl in the class there. Here, I'm the only girl as far as installers go. I'm a single mom, too. I joined the union because it gave me options for healthcare and life insurance so that I know my son's taken care of. I like what I do. Like, this is the best job I've ever had. You think solar panels is more like California. You wouldn't think Appalachia would have any. It would be smart if the government would invest more in clean energy resources.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At the Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right-left or red-blue, when they are and always have been up-down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people, for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.